Mortensen and Adam Sheffer. This has been a long time coming. Just a few years ago, Carson Wentz basically leading the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Injuries take over. He wasn't able to do it. And now the Indianapolis Colts as well. Their quarterback situation up in the air. Phillip Rivers retires. What were they going to do? And now, Adam Schefter, we have our answer. The man who broke the news along with Mort joins us now live on SportsCenter. Adam, what can you tell us about how we got to this point? How'd the deal get done?
Well, Sage, the Colts and the Eagles were in discussions for the last 3 weeks. I think really from the day after Jared Goff got traded from Los Angeles to Detroit and Matthew Stafford went from Detroit to Los Angeles. The talks heated up at that moment and really have been going on for 19 straight days. And they were at the brink of the deal the whole time, but it was only until today that the Eagles finally signed off on the agreement that will send a third-round pick this year to Philadelphia and a conditional second-round pick next year that could become a first-round pick in return to the Eagles from the Colts. Each side gets what it wants, right? Carson Wentz wanted out of Philadelphia, did not want to be back there. The Colts wanted Carson Wentz to work with Frank Reich, their head coach, who was his former offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. Frank Reich is a Carson Wentz believer and the biggest proponent of this trade. And that's why the trade gets done, because Frank Reich believes that he could salvage Carson. Carson wanted out of Philadelphia. The Eagles recognized they were better off moving on and getting the picks in return. And that's exactly what unfolded here, with the Eagles now obviously having to eat some dead cap money, but not having to pay the roster bonus that's due next month of about $10 million. So there are all sorts of implications, and it's a continuation of the offseason quarterback movement that we've been expecting. We've now seen the first and second overall picks from the 2016 draft traded 19 days apart. First Jared Goff, now Carson Wentz. Wentz has a new home. The Eagles now have Jalen Hurts as their quarterback, but I think that they'll be looking to bring in competition of some sort. I don't think they're automatically just going to hand the job to Jalen Hurts and say, you are the guy here moving forward. I think that the Eagles will be looking. They've got a lot of ammunition now built up with the extra picks, and we'll continue to see the ripple effects of this trade that was agreed to just a short time ago.
Adam, a lot to get to there. We're going to have Louis Riddick join us in a second as well. But 19 straight days of talks back and forth. That's almost 3 weeks. What was the key, the icing on the cake for everybody to give this the green light?
I think in the end, ultimately, the Eagles wanted to make sure they were getting as much as they could in return for Carson Wentz. And they spoke to a number of teams. And the Bears were interested at one point in time. Others checked in to see what the price would be for Carson Wentz. But ultimately, the match that made the most sense was Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. And I think Matthew Stafford helped drive his trade to Los Angeles. And I don't want to say Carson Wentz did that here because it wasn't as forceful as Stafford was. But in this particular case, I think Carson Wentz really did want to wind up in Indianapolis, working with a familiar, comfortable face in Frank Reich. And Frank Reich wanted to go with Carson Wentz. And I think this, Sage, the Colts looked at the quarterback landscape and surveyed all the quarterbacks out there. And while they're giving up a future conditional second-round pick that could become a first, they said, we believe that Carson Wentz is the best option that we can get on our team right now. And so the Colts offer was what it was. And they were strong. And they increased the offer in the end. But they felt like Carson Wentz was a natural fit in their offense on that team with that particular organization, and now we'll see how that works out.
And once again, the Frank Reich angle is absolutely huge. The familiarity for both sides, that's obviously going to play a big role. I want to ask you real quick about Jalen Hurts, because the assumption naturally would be, okay, they drafted him, he's next in line, he's their guy. Should that not be what we're automatically assuming, that he is the starting quarterback now for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, those are all true. Yeah. He is next in the line. He is the starting quarterback, but that does not preclude the Eagles from going out and seeking another quarterback to bring in to challenge Jalen Hurts, to compete with Jalen Hurts. Again, I don't think that they're just going to hand this job to Jalen Hurts and say, you are the guy. And also, this goes back to show you that they didn't hire their new head coach, Nick Sirianni, to fix Carson Wentz. They hired Nick Sirianni because they believed he was the best man for the job moving forward. They didn't know which quarterback or quarterbacks he was going to be working with, but they knew there was a real chance that Carson Wentz was going to be traded from Philadelphia if the Eagles got the right offer. And in the end, they made the determination that they did, getting a third-round pick this year and a conditional second that could become a first in 2022.
So one, if not two, quarterback questions answered today here on SportsCenter. Adam Schefter, Chris Mortensen with the big news. Again, the Eagles trading Carson Wentz to Indy. Let's keep this going now. Matt?
Yeah, Sage, the story here is going to be if Wentz can be the player he was in the first 4 years of his career or if last year's struggles continue. Wentz went 32-24 as a start over his first 4 seasons, just 3-8-1 last year. The big issue was the turnovers, 15 interceptions, tied for the league lead even though he played in just 12 games. Want to welcome in Louis Riddick of Monday Night Football. And Louis, this guy came on the scene out of North Dakota State, went into a situation in Philadelphia that was almost impossible to please people, yet he did so at a fast clip. We'll get to Carson's career in Philly in a moment, but I want to know what you think of this fit with Wentz in Indianapolis.
Look, on its surface, Matt, it looks great. And you understand why, because familiarity breeds comfort and breeds optimism, and the familiarity between him and Frank Reich is obvious and easy connection to make. And we know how important that kind of comfort and that kind of familiarity is. We know how important it is in terms of quarterbacks then being able to go ahead out on the football field and do what they need to do. So for there, it makes sense. Here's the thing. This is the scariest thing about this entire thing. This is not really about Carson's physical ability, because we know he can throw the football, he can move outside the pocket, he can throw on the run, he can do everything you need him to do from a physical standpoint. This is a mental reclamation project. Strictly put, that's exactly what this is, because what is ailing Carson Wentz, based on my intel, is simply what is going on from the neck up with him, both in terms of how he handled, the whole Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl and having a statue erected in Philadelphia, to Jalen Hurts being drafted and being in the same quarterback room as him, and his inability to withstand the kind of pressure that other people were putting on him, the pressure that the city of Philadelphia put on him, and then how it manifests itself in declining play on the football field, and they weren't able to shake him out of that. They just were not able to shake him out of that. Then obviously you hear all the different rumors in Philadelphia about how he had a direct line to ownership and people in the front office, and that how that wound up affecting his relationship with his coaching staff and the rest of the players. Look, he needed to get the heck out of Philadelphia, period. It didn't matter. That was over. But what's going on in Indianapolis right now is a mental reclamation project. They got the surrounding cast for him. They've got the kind of offensive system that really he needs to play in at this point. But it's whether or not Frank can connect with Carson mentally in a way that has Carson believing, I don't need to look over my shoulder. I don't have the weight of an entire city, bearing down on me. I'm not going to crack under that kind of pressure. I can go out here and play free and play fast and play within the context of this offense. And this is the best place that I could possibly do this at. Because I'll tell you this, if he doesn't accomplish it here, I don't think he's going to accomplish it anywhere. And I think his career is going to be on a fast track to being over.
All right, so a couple of things to unpack there. First, the Philly special was iconic in Philadelphia, but it sounds like that was also the beginning of the end for Carson Wentz, because Nick Foles does all this during the playoff wins, the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, Carson's like, what about me? I got us to this point. But now you talk about a mental reclamation project, which for some pro athletes, they can never get rid of the shanks. So with Carson Wentz, if you're Frank Reich, it's kind of a comfort. It's a comfort pillow. How do you start that reclamation project of getting Carson Wentz to believe again?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to look, first of all, you had to know this going in, okay, number one. So don't all of a sudden, be surprised by the fact that you're getting someone now who needs to basically have the table set for him. You cannot throw him curveballs. You cannot give him competition. You cannot put expectations on him that seem to be too much. These are all things that history has shown he is not going to respond favorably to. So I think the first and foremost, you need to make it be known to him that, look, this is your job. We're not going to surprise you by bringing in someone else here to compete with you for the job. this is what we want you to do within this offense. Remember, these are the kind of things that we used to do when I was with you in Philadelphia. I'm speaking from Frank Reich's perspective. These are the kind of things that we know that you were comfortable with. This is the kind of things that we kind of do here. These are the players that you're going to be working with. It's going to be important that the players embrace him and give him confidence and lift him up, and that he integrates well with the players and gets on with them. This is a city that's not the same kind of city as Philadelphia in terms of the kind of expectations they're going to put on you and how hard they're going to be on you if you don't, in fact, meet those expectations week to week. There's a lot that's going to have to go on before he even